Stop shuffling and thinking about moving Panay and all this dancing around. Lions aren't good enough to do that.
Frank Ragnow is a centerpiece of your offensive line. Pun intended, I guess.
Semblance of, can we get to the playoff? Can we be a team to put ourselves in position next year to where we know we're going to the playoff?
When you're a 3-win team, chances are your roster as a whole cannot plug holes filled by injuries.
Yeah. But I think it bothered him at Pittsburgh, and once we got it checked out, it was something that we felt like we needed to sit him. So it'll be, we know he's down for at least 4, and we'll just take it week by week and see how he does.
That audio from Dan Campbell on the injury to Vaitai, the offensive lineman, right guard. Also, Taylor Decker commenting on just how difficult it's going to be to replace this guy. You start shuffling bodies all over the place. It's a different animal. Here's Taylor Decker talking about that injury.
I think a lot of people don't realize every single position along the offensive line is vastly different, in my opinion. Just from moving to tackle, to guard, or to flip sides, you spend so much time training at one position, one set. Maybe I'm used to setting a 5 technique, and now you might be moving into guard and you're playing against 3 techniques. Or maybe you're a center that's moving to guard. It's just vastly, vastly different.
And Bray, one of the guys that had to do that last year, he was drafted as a right tackle, started at left tackle, then he moved to right tackle, and now potentially moving to right guard. There's some rumors there about Penei Sewell moving to right guard. Here's the Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson talking about Penei Sewell.
I do know this about Penei Sewell. In his second year, he's light years ahead of where he was last year this time.
That's a positive as well. I mean, is he going to have to play all 5 positions along that offensive line at some point? This offensive line, Braylon, was supposed to be a strength, potentially still, hopefully, a strength. But they got a lot of resources in there, and they have not played one snap together.
A lot of resources, but there's little things like Ben Johnson's up there saying that he's light years ahead of where he is last year. He was light years ahead at right tackle, not right guard. You keep moving these guys around, that's when you start having inconsistencies. Guys, that you hear Taylor Decker say, hit the nail on the head. You get comfortable playing in the spot you're supposed to play in. You're supposed to play in. Like, everybody thinks you can just move or interchange pieces. We had our own stick the other day, came on here and said, like, I would like to move Penei Sewell to left guard. And then just imagine that left side of the line where you have Taylor Decker and then Penei Sewell and then you have Frank Ragnow. What about the right side? What about when you go against guys like last year, let's say, for instance, the Rams, they have Von Miller and Aaron Donald. You can just move your outside rush in to the left side. Then he goes against a weaker right side. Look at Myles Garrett when you play Cleveland. You don't think Cleveland's going to line him up on the left side of the line so he has to go against that right side? It's not easy just to move guys around and mess up their frequency, mess up what those guys are trying to do, the chemistry that they built. So if I'm the Detroit Lions, man, I come up with the best possible solution with keeping players where they're at. I want to keep Taylor where he's at. I want to keep Frank where he's at, and I want to keep Penei Sewell. No, I want to keep Penei Sewell at right side. The only thing is, if you want to put Evan Brown at center, because he played pretty good last year,
Pro Bowl caliber level last year,
then I'm fine with that. And then you move Frank Ragnow. Outside of that, stop shuffling and thinking about moving Penei and all this dancing around. Lions aren't good enough to do that. We're trying to get to a point where we get good. Lions aren't that good yet to be moving all these guys around, especially the position that's supposed to be the strength.
The downside today, no Frank Ragnow at practice and no Tommy Kramer at practice. So that offensive line at the wrong time getting banged up, and that sucks. So Braylon's Philadelphia Eagles pick is looking a little bit better to me.
And we still really don't know what's going on with Ragnow. He did pop up on the injury list yesterday as a limited participant in practice. You're telling me that he did not practice today?
No.
0? That's not good. You're going in the other direction now. That is not good. But I will tell you, look, Frank Ragnow is a centerpiece of your offensive line, and pun intended, I guess.
Yeah.
He might be your best offensive lineman. You want him on the
As
field.
of now he is.
Thankfully, we have seen that they do have a capable backup behind him. Evan Brown played a Pro Bowl caliber, and I think he was mentioned as one of the potential alternates on the Pro Bowl last year. Evan Brown was. So I do think you want your best guys to play, but every team is going to be faced with this. Every team is going to be faced with injuries. Which way are you going to go? How deep is your bench? But again, it's a situation where you put all these resources into these guys, and they have not played. These 5 starters have not played one offensive snap together ever.
I hear the conversation that everybody is going to be faced with this. Everybody coming out of training camp, going to the season, nobody is 100% where they were to start OTAs or where they were to start training camp. They're not that spot. Now, I understand it, but also everybody wasn't 3-13-1. See, it means a lot more when you get these injuries, when you get this shuffling around, when you get these replacements, and you're diving deep into the free agents that are still available or some trades that you can make. It looks a lot different when you're a team that is trying to get to a level where you're respected, trying to get to the level where you're fighting for the playoffs. And that's what the Lions do. They're trying to fight for that semblance of, can we get to the playoffs? Can we be a team to put ourselves in position next year to where we know we're going to the playoffs? Little things like this, it takes you a step back and it keeps you where you are.
There's no question about it, and I think that is a great point.
Yeah.
Not a good point, a great point, because when you're a 12-13 win team and you lose your right guard,
you prepare for it.
You're good.
Yeah.
Because chances are everybody around you on that team has an opportunity to bail you out of an injury here and there.
I mean, just look at Tampa Bay last year. They lost Tristan Wirfs, who's one of the best linemen in the NFL last year, and they still got to the NFC semifinals. See, some teams are built, they're prepared for it. Some teams aren't ready for that just yet, Ryan.
No doubt about it. When you're a 3-win team, chances are your roster as a whole cannot plug holes filled by injuries.
Yeah.
It's just the way the roster makeup.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's also just a way of being 3-13-1. Like, you're trying to use everything you can. All the focus that you have is on your starters. Like, you're focusing on DJ Chark. You're focusing on Jameson Williams when he gets healthy. You're focusing on DeAndre Swift and Jared Goff and Aiden Hutchinson and Tracy Walker. You don't have time to be worrying about the secondary players, and not talking about the secondary, but talking about your backup players right now. Your job is the starters. That's all that counts and all that matters.
One of the guys they let go, and you remember him on Hard Knocks, is Dan Skipper. And Skipper, remember, he asked.
Didn't they bring him back to the?
I'm not sure.
I thought they brought him back to the practice
so
squad.
I guess that's good then.
Yeah.
If they have him on the practice squad, that's another guy that they could bring up that they trust. Obviously, he's not a number 1, 2, or 3 guy, but he's a filling guy. We'll see, man. But this seems to happen to the Lions a lot, doesn't it? It's the teams like the Lions that just can't get over the hump when it comes to getting a break. That's a bad break.
Well, I'm not going to write them off.
No,
right
I'm not
now.
telling you to write them off.
Like, I'm not writing them off. I mean, I think this is one of those things. I would rather them not have injuries, but as long as they got that guy at quarterback who wears number 16, and I'm telling you, I think he is in for one hell of a season, Jared Goff. Look out. I'm telling Jared Goff is going to have a great season. He's confident, I'm confident, but especially him. Take a listen.
I've got full control of what we're doing on offense and full ownership, and they've given me the reins, and I've ran with it as best I can. I feel confident and feel confident in the guys around me too. It's been really fun.
So that's Jared Goff talking about the command of the offense. He did not have this a year ago. The plays, the scheme, the talent on the outside with the wide receivers. I think he is primed for a really good season.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of 2007. Going into that 2007 year, we made the Pro Bowl. Derek Anderson, myself, Kellen Winslow, we made the Pro Bowl. But Derek Anderson kind of went into that season kind of trying to figure out this offense, trying to see if he can have some success. He kind of went just okay, had the success. Came in 2008, a whole different swagger. He ends up getting injured, but I did see the swagger change, and I did see at ease that he would call plays, or he would change plays, or he would audible when we were in minicamp, when we were OTAs, and when we were in training camp. So I did see the difference. And you're seeing this out of we had a guy here a couple months ago talk about the difference in Jared Goff, talking about the way he moves, talking about the way in which he answers questions, talking about his command over the offense, his presence in a huddle. So all that sounds good, but none of that means a hill of beans if you go out there on Sunday and you stink it up. So I got to see what's going to happen when he gets out there. What happens when Jared Goff is in that first 3rd and long? What happens to Jared Goff when that first incomplete pass happens on a third down? What happens to Jared Goff when he misses a pass, or when something happens, or when there's a little adversity, when the Philadelphia Eagles get up 14-0? How does he play then? I want to see how it plays when we get to Sunday.
Well, what is and how is he going to respond? His offensive coordinator thinks he's going to respond pretty good. Here's Ben Johnson talking about the Lions quarterback, Jared Goff.
He has been everything I could ever hope for from a quarterback, just in terms of preparation. He is, once again, I could talk about all these smart guys. He's very smart. He's on top of it mentally. He takes a lot of pride in being a professional, and I think that carries over to his teammates.
He does seem like a different Jared Goff this year than he does in, well, 12 months ago.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree on that.